Order on this August 19th of 2024, with the first item on the agenda being the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is open forum. If you have an open forum item that you would like to bring to the board's attention for a future meeting, you may do so. I would ask you to keep it brief because we cannot respond, and we have other items that are on the agenda this evening. If there are anybody that would like to, well, I'll start with the board. Does anybody have anything for open forum? Go right ahead.
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This dovetails with our recent meeting with the Veteran Service Officer, Sarah Lansing. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, about a week and a half ago, passed the Massachusetts HERO Act. It became law on August 8th. That expands some state veteran benefits. Oh, here we go. We on?
Yeah.
I'll try that again. The Massachusetts HERO Act became law on August 8th and expands some state veteran benefits. As we know from our discussion with VSO Sarah Lansing, I think it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, she's available to answer questions, and she's a terrific resource for anything veteran-related. So I bring this up by way of adding to something that we discussed earlier, and there might be folks in town who are entitled to additional benefits, and I'd encourage them to reach out to VSO Sarah Lansing to see if they might be qualified for additional benefits that they're entitled to.
Great.
Thank you.
To that end, Rainey, if Sarah has any articles or need of the select board to advance any of those, maybe we can add those to a fall agenda item so that we can do what we need to do to get, if we have to pass anything forward.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else on the board have anything?
Nope.
Great. Anybody from the public? There being none, I will move on to new business. I'm going to skip to item D on the agenda, discussion regarding the call for the state primary election. We have our town clerk here this evening, and I would invite her.
She just left because there were no questions.
She's not going to do any.
She's not going to do any.
Okay, so we do not need to do that right now. We can do it later,
We
right?
can do it later, or not at all.
All right. Yeah, I think we have to call an election. So, forget that. Discussion regarding fire department motor vehicle declaration of surplus.
Chief Reardon.
We have the chief on the Zoom.
Hi, Chief.
Good evening. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
The floor is yours,
Yes.
sir.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. I'm coming before you to request that we surplus a military surplus vehicle that we took in 2018. This was no cost to the town when we got it. It served its purpose, but unfortunately at this point, due to mechanical issues which are beyond the capabilities of our town, and these are very difficult vehicles to work on, the cost of it is not, it's not in our best interest to keep the vehicle. So what I'd like to do is surplus the vehicle. We've been on the list to get another one, a replacement, again, at no cost to us. And also, we wrote a grant this year to try to secure a high water vehicle also. I would open it up if you have any questions.
Any members of the board?
So the chief answered anticipated my question. I was going to ask what we're going to do to replace it. So it sounds like you've got a plan. Thank you.
I've been on the list for almost 2 years now, and there's some vehicles that have come our way, but unfortunately just haven't been good enough. We're looking for one that's decent, that isn't going to cost us any money as far as repairs, and we're also looking for ones that haven't been in certain areas. So we do have the person who monitors those vehicles up there, and we're at the top of the list. So hopefully something will come soon, and if not, maybe that grant will come through where we could get a brand new vehicle outfitted for the town.
Great.
Any other members of the board? I only noticed how unique this was and quite frankly, kind of cool. Is there any idea that this might be, I know there was an estimate that this might garner not too much money. Is there any idea that, someone might want this or that, a camouflage truck seems kind of cool?
I don't think people are going to want it for the vehicle, from what I understand, but they're going to want it for the engine. I guess there's an engine in there that's sought after, so it might draw, I think I wrote down the amount. I don't know that we want to publicize the amount that we think, but it might gather us some money and go into the general fund.
It definitely needs a few tires.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we want to encourage people to bid high, and we want
Just
that.
need some tires and brakes, and then you'll have a Duxbury
I
fire.
think Mike is going to be the
Yes.
first bidder
Yeah.
out
First
there.
bidder out there.
To see it on the
Camo
oversand.
truck.
Yeah.
Call it Clover One.
Yes. Anyhow, with that, I'll take, oh, actually, any members of the public have any questions? There being none, I'll take a vote.
I move to declare as surplus the following: a 1994 Stuart Stevenson LMTV, VIN number AT0690EC, in order to allow this item to be disposed of, sold, auctioned, or donated, all in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, and the town's rules and regulations, with the proceeds to go to the general fund.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night, Rob.
We have a further discussion with the MBTA Communities Working Group and a presentation by Steve Gant, the chair of that group.
Before Steve start, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just provide a little bit of background as to why we're here tonight. The MBTA Advisory Working Group, were before the Select Board, I think 1 or 2 meetings ago, with an update. And there have been some updates since then.
Yep.
And while the Select Board didn't specifically ask for another report back, we thought it made sense, given the nature of this matter and giving the importance of the issue to the town, that we'd come back and keep you posted with some news. And we wanted to solicit any further input and questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Yep, my name is Steve Gant, 265 West Street. And Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned, I'm the chair of the MBTA Communities Working Group here for the town of Duxbury.
Welcome.
Just wanted to start by recapping where we left off July 22nd at that meeting. And you recall we had, and this is not in the presentation here, I'm just kind of recapping what we had. We have 2 sites that we're looking at for this purpose. The Island Creek Residential and Mixed Use District, and the Bonges Residential and Mixed Use District. The Island Creek, we had that designated for a 519 unit capacity at 16 units per acre, and that's up from about the 10 units that are there now. Bonges, we had designated for 308 units at a density of 15 units per acre, and so that totaled a capacity of 827 units, and that consists of the 750 unit minimum that's required by the state, plus a 10% buffer that the state recommends for compliance plans for the MBTA adjacent communities like Duxbury. So after adjusting for the already existing 358 units at Island Creek, the maps would have allowed for the possible development of an additional 469 net new units. So that's where we were, and that's where we left off on July 22nd. So as a result of the conversation that we had, or the discussion that we had after that meeting, we heard concerns from members of the Select Board and from members of the Planning Board that we should not incorporate that 10% buffer into our final zoning map. So we had the town's consultant, Stantec. They went back to the drawing board. They revised the map for the same sites that we were looking at. And so we now have maps that you'll see here, and this is what we're calling the final scenario. So next slide. The final scenario. Yep, next slide. There we go. Okay. So what you see here, so this is the proposed map for Island Creek. And so, again, the pink shaded areas are the multifamily overlay district lots. And then the blue shaded areas are the mixed use overlay districts. And those are right along Tremont Street. So orientation, I'm sure we all know. But down at the bottom, you can see Tremont Street there. Off on the left, that's Route 3. And then that's the Island Creek district there. We've eliminated the various commercial and residential sites to the north along Tremont Street, and you can kind of see them on the lower right-hand corner there, just above Tremont Street. There were a series of, there's a couple single-family lots and some commercial lots that were up there. We had initially included those in the map, but we've now eliminated them since we wanted to reduce the amount of the buffer that we built into the total capacity. Excuse me. So that the numbers, and then the numbers that you see on each of those parcels, you can see a series of numbers there in the pink and the blue. Those are the numbers that represent the proposed unit capacity for each of those parcels. And so for Island Creek, what we're looking for here, or what we're looking at, is we're looking at a 4-story limit for the multifamily overlay. So that's going to be the parcels in the pink, and then the 3 stories for the mixed-use overlay. So those are the parcels in the blue. So for the mixed-use sub-area or sub-district there in the blue, that would be a zone for first-floor office or commercial, and then you'd have up to 2 stories above that, 2 stories of multifamily above the commercial, in those, again, in those blue zones. Next slide. Okay, so here's the Bonji site, and so then on this map, the multifamily overlay is shown in orange, and then the mixed-use overlay is shown in yellow. So here we're proposing the multifamily overlay at 3 stories. So what you see in the orange there, which looks kind of red, but the orange, it's going to be for 3 stories total, and then the mixed-use overlay in the yellow right there, that would be for 2 stories. So 1 floor of commercial or office, and then 1 floor of multifamily above that. Next slide. Okay, here are the numbers. Not everyone loves the numbers. So here's, you can see, this is where you can see the results of the changes that we made. And so I'll kind of walk you through these numbers here. So right across the top, you can see there are districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. So districts 1 and 2, those are the multifamily and mixed-use districts, respectively, for Island Creek. And then districts 3 and 4 are the multifamily and mixed-use districts, respectively, for Bonji. So that's those are your headings across the top there. And then, of course, the total is way over there on the right. And then for the rows, we've got 5 items here. The first one is the actual acreage of each of the districts. So you can see so for the Island Creek residential, it's 27.1 acres, 5.3, the mixed use, and so on. The second row is something called the district density denominator. This is stuff that only the state can come up with. The district density denominator. So you'll notice that in all but in the Island Creek residential district, the acreage on the first row and the district density denominator on the second row, you'll notice that they're the same for everything except that Island Creek residential district in that first column right there. So the question is, why would it be different? Why is it different for the Island Creek residential district? And it's different because the state requires that when you're calculating the unit density of a district, you have to exclude some sensitive areas like wetlands. And so the overlay portion, that pink area that we saw on the Island Creek district, that has about 0.8 of an acre of sensitive lands. So that's excluded from the denominator when you're calculating the density for that district. So that's what the district density denominator is. So there weren't any sensitive areas in the mixed use for Island Creek or in either of the districts for Bonji's. So that's why the district acreage and the district density denominator are the same. The third row, that's the dwelling units per acre. And so that's self-explanatory. It tells you how many units, what the capacity is going to be in terms of the total number of units for that particular district. The fourth row is the parcel acreage. Again, that's basically a repeat of the first row there. And so then what happens is when you multiply row 3, that dwelling units per acre times the parcel acreage down at the bottom, that gives you that 5th row, that final unit capacity per district down at the bottom. So you take number 3 times number 4, that gives you number 5. So for Island Creek right now, that's 513 total units that are permitted. So that's the 4 down at the bottom there, that's the 418 plus the 95. And then for Bonji's, it's the 265, it's 275 total units permitted, and that's the 267 plus the 8. And so what that does is that gets you then to the 788 total unit capacity that and that's for everything that we're proposing to zone for the MBTA community's compliance purpose. So that represents a 5% buffer over the minimum 750 units that the state requires Duxbury to zone for. So we didn't go. We had the 10. We didn't go, to the full 0. We thought it was best to kind of split it in the middle and go with. We really should be showing some kind of a buffer there between the 10% and the 0. Because in the event that the state, if there's something amiss with any of the districts that we've drawn here, or that Stantec has drawn for us, we run the risk of being non-compliant because we don't have enough total units. So that 5% buffer, I think, is a good compromise between 0 and the 10% that we had before. Now, there's something really important to remember here, and this is something that we're really pounding home every time that we, that we're having public outreach. The 788 units, that number right there, that is the total capacity that we have to zone for. And that's really the headline number, so that's kind of the number that's going to stick in everyone's mind. But the fact that we're zoning, or that we're including the Island Creek district here, Island Creek, as it's configured now, it already has 358 multifamily units on it. So what that means is that we're going to get credit, I'm going to put that in quotes, we're going to get credit for those pre-existing units. So we're going to get credit for those against our total capacity. So this credit process, this is something that the state intentionally permitted in the MBTA communities legislation, and so they knew that cities and towns would take advantage of it, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So if we're thinking about the net new units that would be possible to develop in these two overlay districts, we have to take that 788 unit number there, and we have to deduct the 358 pre-existing units. So what that means is that if we apply the overlays to these districts on the maps as you saw them, we would be permitting just 788 units minus the 358, or 430 net new units. So the reality is, under the revised maps that we saw, we're proposing to allow the addition of up to a maximum of 430 net new units as part of this overlay exercise. So thank you for your time. Mr. Chairman, I'll stop there. I will request, I have a request to make at the end of the question and the comment period as well, so I'll hold on for that. But for right now, I'll open it up for questions and comments.
I'll start with the board. Anybody else? Do you want to go right ahead?
First, I appreciate your coming back, because I had a lot of regret after the last meeting with the inclusion of those properties out on Tremont Street, because I learned that the planning board was not on board with that, and that we didn't necessarily have to do that. And so I'm glad that that was adjusted and come in. Sure. While I appreciate the statement that the 358 of these are already built, it's still, I don't want to go into this not. I think we need to go into this with the most transparency and our eyes wide open. The residents have to understand that it's going to more than double the units that are currently there at Island Creek, and it's going to create hundreds of new units in the Bonges area. So, while this, we did encourage you to move forward with these parcels, I think it's still, it's going to be up to the residents of this town as to whether they want to move forward with this zoning. And I also, encourage people to really think about the fact that, yes, you're just putting, you're putting a zoning designation on land, and that, a lot of people I've talked to say, well, it's never going to get built. Nobody's going to build it. I don't think you can ever say that, and I don't think you should zone something without fully understanding that, yes, that can be developed, and it probably will be developed. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but so I think there's a lot here. I appreciate the work that's gone into this. It's going to be a big decision for the town.
Fernando?
Still digesting, thank you.
Brian?
Steve said it all. It's going to come down to what town meeting wants to vote for. I understand Amy's point. And just to reiterate, the purpose of this working group was to put together something that would meet the letter, if not also the spirit, of the law. And I think the working group has done a terrific job in trying to balance those interests, regardless of your position on whether this should exist at all.
Exactly.
So I think the highlight here is that the district has been whittled down, not only in terms of area, but also in terms of the overall number of units. And speaking for myself, as a member of the working group as well, I can tell you that there was a lot of, I won't say hand-wringing, but there was some concern about how low can we go, so to speak, in terms of the buffer. and we came to what we felt is a reasonable consensus at the 5%.
I have a question. Well, first I'll say thank you. You've done a lot of hard work, and this transparency is important.
Mr. Chairman, I would extend your thanks to the rest of the group. I am a small part of this. There are other people who are doing a lot more than I am. So.
And absolutely appreciate that. And the one question I have is, you mentioned that you get credit for units from Island Creek. Was there a potential to zone in another area and gain credits for the space?
It's conceivable that we could have done that. But one of the concerns one of the issues that we confront with this whole exercise is that at least one of the districts that we have that we would include, you don't have to have just one district, obviously we have two,
Yep.
but at least one of the districts has to comprise a minimum of 50% of the total area that we have to zone for this. So where, we have to have 50 acres altogether as part of the, minimum of 50 acres. One of the parcels, if you have multiple parcels that you're putting together, one of those has to comprise at least half of the total acreage of all the districts that you're putting together for this. So that's what made Island Creek very attractive,
Yep.
is that it's a large parcel, and it allowed us to get over that 50% threshold while and it gave us more flexibility to consider, particularly the Bonji site.
I think what town meeting is going to have the biggest concern about is the Bonji's area. As opposed to Bonji's, could you have zoned another area that has already units in the multifamily units in it?
That's possible. I don't have all the kind of the scenarios that we've looked at, or Stantec has looked at for us.
Yeah.
And there were a number of options that were looked at. We decided on the Bonji site for a couple of different reasons. Number one, recognizing what it is. There already is some commercial there, and it's right on 53, so it's got access to a main thoroughfare. Some of the other sites that we were looking at, were not located on areas that were as well traveled as Route 53, and the idea is that that's vacant, a lot of vacant land already there at Bonji's, and the thought is that something is going to happen there at some point. And this is me speculating now, I'll preface this, but it's possible that, or it's conceivable that at some point a 40B could have been developed on the Bonji site, and that would have to have a minimum affordability of 25% of the units that would be affordable at or below 80% of AMI. Whereas here, what we're proposing for these districts is that we would have a minimum of 10% affordability at 80% of AMI. So the affordability threshold that we're imposing on that Bonji site is lower than what it would be, for example, if, again, speculating, if a 40B were to be proposed for that site at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So a number of different factors went into choosing the Bonji site.
And, I mean, all these are kind of speculative ideas of what a future buyer could do with it, or even what Bonji's owners could do with it now. But I think what people recognize when they see these numbers, the 267 residential units and that kind of density, is that it changes the aesthetics of that area as well. It dramatically, I mean, how many units are at Island Creek right now?
358.
So we're pushing up against putting almost a comparable size density at that intersection, which is a busy intersection now. There's signs up everywhere, drive like your children live here. There's schools around there, and things of that nature. So people are going to have a lot of questions, and could probably envision what now is a rural area over there would look like, which I guess brings me to my second point is, does your task force have a charge between now and town meeting as far as preparing additional information for more transparency about costs and other items that people can weigh when they vote?
Good question. You anticipated what I was going to ask you about after we were finished here. And so to your question, does our charge extend? Tomorrow is the next meeting that we have as part of the working group. And that will be the first meeting where, as a group, we'll be starting to discuss the drafting of the bylaw that's going to support the maps here. Because remember, the town's going to vote on the maps, and then they're going to vote on the bylaw, so they would go together. And so we're just starting to go through the drafting of the bylaw at this point. We're going to need some additional time in order to do that. And quite frankly, I think we're probably also going to need continued engagement with the working group, past the drafting, once we hand this over to, the map and the bylaw over to you, for preparation for the meeting, there's going to be some additional work we anticipate that's going to be needed. So, my request would be, if we could extend the charge for the working group to extend at least to the time of town meeting, and preferably beyond that, say to the end of November, because there may be some additional, again, there'll be additional work that we need to do. There may be some work as well that staff here in town will need in order to, assuming this would pass, that they may need help with implementing, particularly considering the fact that we don't currently have a full-time planning director. So that's something that we anticipate we might be able to assist with. So to your first question, yes, we would like to have some additional time to be able to do that. Then the second question is, are we taking into account, questions that people will raise on this and incorporate that into what we're doing? We will have we're planning to have an open house on September 5th that Stan Tech will lead. We'll be presenting the maps as you see them here. And then the work that we will have done to date on the bylaw at that time. And so we anticipate we'll be getting some feedback at that time. Time is short, so I think we'll have some limited capacity in terms of, what we'll be able to, the feedback that we'll be able to get, and that we'll be able to implement. But the idea, we recognize that we will be getting feedback, and to the greatest extent possible, we'll incorporate what we can, into what we put before the town.
Go ahead, Amy.
Just to kind of follow, because I can anticipate, I know I have questions, and I can anticipate the struggle with the town residents and the questions that they're going to have. So if you don't develop this zoning, the state says that they're going to not provide us state aid and grant money. So what we do know is that there is going to be a cost, and what we don't know what that cost is to the town to develop hundreds and hundreds of units, an additional 430 units on top of what we have currently at the 358, correct? So the infrastructure, that the cost to the town of that cost, those impacts are going to extend into the future forever of these units. We have significant water issues that we're facing. Water is almost a crisis issue with the PFAS and the PFOA. We have schools that certainly aren't designed for this, these types of densities. Our infrastructure is going to take a huge hit here. Our services, our police, fire. There is a tremendous cost forever going forward with the development of these. So the struggle for me and others, I think, is going to be what are you giving up if you say no to this? Where's the cost? Where's the you're giving up $800,000 a year in grants, but you're saving $2 million a year in infrastructure costs. Those are the questions that I don't know who is going to be able to answer those questions, because those are tough. So I don't know who's going to be able to answer that. So I want to bring that up. I also want to bring up the legal aspect, because I know when we first entered into this, we with the task group, we had a couple of other, concerns, and that was, or not concerns, but areas of exploration. And one of those is legal for me. So we know that other towns, Milton, Marshfield, Foxborough, there's a whole list of towns Norwell, they have said no to this zoning. And what are how are they handling this legally? Are they pressuring the state to I don't know what they're doing.
Milton is being sued by this Attorney General.
No, I understand, but there's
only 12 that have rejected it and then there's 75 that have approved it.
Right, so, but it would be, I think, helpful for me. I would like to know, and I don't know who's going to help us know what other towns are doing, and if there's a ability to, again, if the residents aren't going to support this, what is...
What are they going to lose?
Yeah,
because it'll be a lot.
What are we going to lose? And what's our recourse? Because, honestly, we're losing our home rule ability, and that's a problem. Planning is a big problem when you have no ability to know what your density is going to be with the ADUs and with this zoning.
That was all covered when
tough.
Paul was here 2 weeks ago. He explained all the parameters and why it does need to be approved, because if we don't approve it, we're going to have Yeah, when Paul Halkiotis was here 2 weeks, the 2 meetings ago, he explained all of that and said that we pretty much have to approve this. If we don't, we're going to be in serious hot water. We've got grant funding on the order of $5 million sitting out there right now that we're hoping to get just for the seawalls alone.
But $5 million today
Do you need volume up?
$5 million today in
Did
a
you need
grant.
volume up? I'm sorry, did you not hear what he said?
I heard what he said, but can I make a comment?
I just want to let Amy finish her.
Yeah, at some point, when it's appropriate.
Of course.
$5 million,
Fair points.
I understand that we would lose out on, grant money today, but the cost of the forever of these units, I think that is going to be the struggle that the town meeting has to try to determine, what the best course of action is. And there is no, and I'll get off, I'll stop talking in a second, but we have the town that we live in because we have made smart choices. People that have sat on these boards before us have made considerable choices and that have deterred a lot of development, a lot of growth. We live in a very desirable area because of the choices that the town has made. And when it comes to protecting our environment and our groundwater, it's always been based on those principles. And so I'm not sure where this is going, but I know there will be a lot of questions, and I just want to put us in a position where we can answer them as best as possible.
Any other board members?
Can I just address Amy's question? I just found in my notes here something that Paul Halkiotis had put together in response to your question, Amy, about what's potentially at risk. And he put it this way. Over the last 5 years, the town received a total of $312,712 in grants from grant programs. In addition, the town received $2 million from Coastal Zone Management for beach nourishment, $196,000 from Seaport Economic Council for the Snug Harbor feasibility study. The town has a pending grant application that was submitted to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs for dam and seawall repair for construction funding valued at $3 million. And we're in the midst, at least when this was submitted earlier this month, $3 million and a coastal resiliency grant program for $2 million. But that doesn't address your other question, Amy, about what is the perpetual cost of additional development, and my own view on that. And there was some discussion on that issue as well among the group, even though it wasn't our charge to say this is a good or bad idea. But our comprehensive plan, as well as the housing production plan, as well as the age and dementia friendly plan that we endorsed, all demonstrate that there's need for diversity in housing stock in Duxbury. And for whatever reason, we haven't been able to provide that through zoning. So I appreciate this a bit of a cudgel, but in one way, this is an opportunity. It's a bucket of lemons for sure, but we can make some lemonade in achieving some of our overall housing goals. I think that's the yin to the yang on that, but I hear what you're saying.
All right. I would take a member of the public.
Please. Sure.
You make, we can't, Brett, sorry. Can I go to, I'm sorry. And if you could just give your name and,
Yeah, sure.
thank you.
Mike Herlihy, 56 St. George Street, 40 years here in Duxbury, and a member of the Livable Duxbury Task Force that you have going here. We have several segments of the Living Duxbury group that we've recruited to address different areas in the domains of the report. One of them is in this housing area, another is in the transportation area, which all come to bear in Labanji's subject matter. And we're dedicated to try and help this process in terms of contributing factually and supportively to the dialogue. So that means we need to address questions such as the ones that Amy brought up, because they're certainly going to come up. And we also need to talk to some of the opportunity points that Brian brought to the table that come up. So we have 10 people, and we have our domain leader here in the audience listening to what your concerns are, so we're sensitive to that. So you should know that we've contacted the MBTA group and let them know that we're trying to help them with their education sessions. And we have some additional opportunities through the Council on Aging education facilities and opportunities to try and paint the transparent but whole picture in this regard. So there's a resource here in town of at least 10 people that are trying to help this group, and we see opportunity as well as concerned sides to the issue.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think that's key is this situation. There's lots of cons against it, but there are some pros, right? And I think that's our job as a select board is to strive to get those pros and those cons clearly articulated, so that at the end of the day, at the annual town meeting, we make the town collectively, we make an informed decision. And so appreciate the offer of help. There's some bit, Rennie, is obviously that increased density will result in increased property taxes, right? So it may be, I don't know if we may need some financial help to start kind of building the pros and the cons to articulate Amy's point around the cost, right? For that increased density and the impact that would have.
It's
That's something
conundrum.
Stantec should do.
Is that something that the consultant can figure out what?
I would hope, yeah.
Good question. Short answer is I don't know. We can certainly broach that with them.
Yes, please.
If they can do some modeling for.
I think we definitely need to do some modeling. Yeah, if we can do that modeling, right, in terms of increased density, what will that result in there's got to be taxes, right? People got to pay tax for the properties, right?
Yep, we'll have
So
to
there
make
has
some
to be-
assumptions around.
Yeah, and then
unit values and such.
then there's got to be increased cost and
Police and fire.
policing and fire and water, all that kind of stuff.
Well,
out there, so.
and the study was done when we did the 1999 comprehensive plan, that for every 4-bedroom home that was built in town, for every $1 in tax money that was collected, that family of 4 was spending closer to $2.
That
So-
was 19, what was
No, it
that
was
year?
1999, and
Is-
the study
is we're-
hasn't
we're
been
in-
done since.
We
so-
need
but
to
I-
do something, we need to do 2024.
We do, but it-
2024, we need
Yeah.
to do that.
For tonight, sir,
Yep.
what do you need for us to vote on, if anything?
Not necessarily that you would vote, but.
Or consensus.
Yes, to extend our charge, the duration of our charge, not the scope, but the duration. At least I would propose to the end of November of 2024, so that we can continue to meet on a schedule that we're working on right now, and continue to be engaged on the work that we've been charged with doing, and then any other that you may give to us. Mike, come up to Mike.
Additional request, I don't want.
Yep, but,
Sorry, Mike.
Oh, that's right, it's being recorded.
yeah.
Sorry about that. The Irish need to be trained. We're without a professional planning resource here in the town at this point in time. Anything you can do to give us access to one, because we're all amateurs at this, would be very, very helpful. I don't know what the answer is to that question, but anything that we can cobble together. Paul Halkiotis was very helpful, but as of last week, we don't have access to him officially, so.
I know a couple retired planners I could give a call to. Maybe they'll help us out, some residents here in town.
Yeah, just
I'll
run them,
put you on the spot.
run them through HR. We're over a barrel at the moment, so.
Before we discontinue, and I'm sorry to drag this on, but you did mention a 10% affordable component here. And I do have to ask why, first of all, it is frustrating to me that this MBTA zoning doesn't include an affordable provision in it right off the bat. So there's no, this isn't, this zoning, this housing law isn't meant to, there's no affordable component, so therefore it's not, that's not, but I think it would be smart if we were to include an affordable component, since we know that there's a need for that in town. Why would we not go higher than the 10% that your group is proposing?
It is possible to go higher than the 10%. The issue that we have, though, is if we were to go higher than 10%, we would have to have a feasibility study that would justify going above the 10%. And right now, we don't have either the budget or the time to go through that feasibility study.
Oh,
that
that's
would allow
an
us to go higher.
unfortunate reason to lose out on that. But I hear what you're saying,
We discussed 20 earlier.
Mr. Hurley, just for the record, Mr. Hurley mentioned that they discussed 20%, but obviously you have your constraints.
Yes, and the rationale behind the 10% was that was the highest limit we could go to without a feasibility study. And that allows us to keep pace with Duxbury's subsidized housing inventory. It would allow us not to go, right now we're at about 7.5%, roughly, more or less. If we do 10% here, that would allow us to keep pace with that 7.5% without going
But
any
it
lower.
only keeps up with it. It doesn't.
only keeps up with it. You're right.
doesn't. It's It's
That's
a
right.
net. Yeah.
But if we did zero, of course, it would reduce that.
And the feasibility study just simply, there's not money in the budget, or we don't have somebody to do it, or
All of the above.
Yeah, all of the above.
this frustrates me that we're gonna, because this is being pushed down our throat so quickly by the state, that we can't, we don't have the time and the money set aside to do a study that would enable us to fulfill another big need, which is affordable housing, included in this, which again may be another reason that people would be more apt to support it. So that's very frustrating to me. I wish there was some way we could find a way to get that feasibility study done.
This is a little bit of brainstorming, but couldn't we propose something that was higher than 20% if we could figure out how to economically make it attractive for somebody to do? In other words, you could have the zoning, but what gets built there can be anything underneath the allowable density. So you could build something that's like Duxbury Woods, 6 acres, 6 per acre, that type of thing, in that property, if you could make it attractive to everybody. And you get the Duxbury Housing Trust group that could manage projects like that. So just brainstorming thought, that's all.
Well, I think with this point and the other points that are made, I think, this is going to be a major issue this fall. If there is a need to come back before this board, please let Brian know or Rainey, and we can get you back here. And I appreciate all the work you're doing, but if we can be of any assistance, let's do that. I think it's really important that the community has as much information as they can before town meeting. What can we do tonight for you? So just the November.
Yep, extending the duration of our charge would be.
Okay.
would
Is
be
there a
helpful.
consensus of the
Yes.
board?
And planning help as well,
And,
yes.
well, we'll try.
Yeah.
All right, is there a consensus of the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Another member of the working group here would like to have a word.
Okay.
Hi, Carl, Carl Coons, 154 Marshall. I'm part of the MBTA working group. I don't want to leave tonight with people thinking that we're actually going to get all the legitimate questions you've asked about the costs and the revenues. Because does Stantec have enough budget? I mean, I thought they were done. I mean, I don't know how this is going to happen. So I'd just like to ask that question.
Someone's going
rather
to
than
ask them the
leave here
question, and then they'll
thinking that it's going to happen.
have them, somebody from your group needs to ask them the question, then get back to me
Yeah.
with the answer.
We need to find, I'm sure Rennie will work on.
Between now and,
Yeah.
you have a meeting tomorrow night, let's try to
And
get
we have a meeting tomorrow night.
can we communicate with Rainey and find out if the budget includes that, what he needs to do, or anything like that?
Okay.
And if you need to come back before us, we're meeting
Yeah.
again soon.
Okay, because I think we need to act pretty quickly.
I agree.
We're just running out of time.
Yep.
Okay,
Agreed.
thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all your time tonight. I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a discussion regarding a new common victular license for the new owner of French Memories. The new owner is Samana Food Company, doing business as French Memories, and the new manager will be Milcar Navarro. And I don't know if the Navarros are here tonight, or if anybody from that food company are
Right in front
here.
of
Ah,
We're here.
welcome.
Did you bring us some goodies?
It's going to be, I have many questions about
Like a little
croissants and everything else.
eclair or
So
Haven't taken over yet.
Cookies?
what can we do for you, folks?
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, appreciate your time and putting us in the agenda tonight. We just are seeking the approval of the license as requested.
Are there any questions from the board?
Everything was
No, I
satisfying.
reviewed the application, everything is in order.
Yep.
Seems like it's an exciting venture.
It is, I gotta say, Philip wanted to be here. He said, why did you get invited exactly this Monday? He's traveling abroad, he's taking vacations. He said, it's too bad that I'm away. He was pretty sad. He wanted to be here tonight himself.
Well, we appreciate you coming. You have big shoes to fill. This is an iconic location here in town. My family loves it. I'm sure many families love it. We look forward to it continuing on as French Memories for years to come, and we appreciate you stepping up here. If anybody has any other thoughts, I'd be happy to take a motion.
I move that the Select Board approve the new common victualler license for Samana Food Company, DBA French Memories, located at 459 Washington Street, and that Mr. Amilcar Navarro is manager, subject to the satisfactory inspections by the Municipal Services Department and the Board of Health, along with receipt of any required documentation and payment of all fees and funds owed to the town of Duxbury.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. With that, flip through my stuff here. We have a call for the state primary election. This is an exciting opportunity here for clerk.
I move that the Select Board directs the town clerk of the town of Duxbury to notify and warn the inhabitants of Duxbury who are qualified to vote in the state primary election to vote at precincts 1 through 6 of the Lieutenant Timothy J. Steele Athletic Building, located at 130 St. George Street, Duxbury, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, the 3rd day of September 2024, from 7 o'clock a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Town managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of quick updates for you. First, on the seawall. Due to a scheduling conflict, the due date for the seawall bid opening has been changed from this week to next Thursday, the 29th at 2 o'clock. So we expect to have some proposals then. We had a site visit, pre-construction site, not pre-construction, pre-bid site visit out there last week, and there were at least 6 firms. So there's strong interest, which is good.
Excellent.
With regard to Duxbury Beach itself, this season there were 50 piping plovers, now there are 0 active nests and 0 broods of chicks at the beach. 15 broods of fledged chicks for a total of 43 chicks fledged. 23 nests were lost. 18 of those were due to predators. 25 broods have been lost, and 12 have been lost to suspected predation. There is still a sensitive wildlife area in effect north of crossover 1 for lease turns. And we ask that patrons be mindful of the sensitive wildlife areas, as there's no driving or dogs allowed past these fenced lines. With regard to the lease turns, we're still monitoring the final lease turn chicks. And with that, the season's sort of coming to a close, and I suspect that the next meeting will be the last update on the beach, because I believe we are at wide open capacity. I look at you because I know you would be out there, and you might actually know.
We're talking 400 plus cars are allowed on the beach at this
Yeah,
point.
I knew it was like 480 something or 490 something.
Yeah.
So we're doing well.
Yeah.
Just a couple other quick things. Vote by mail. The deadline to request a ballot for the upcoming state primary is Monday the 26th. And please contact the town clerk's office or visit the town clerk's webpage if interested. The deadline to register to vote for the upcoming state primary is 5 o'clock on Saturday the 24th. And there will be a traffic advisory in place for the annual Rotary Club Duck Race at the Bluefish River Bridge, which will also be Saturday the 24th from 1 to 5. And then finally, we have got the water and sewer rate study out on the street, and the RFP will be available on Wednesday the 21st, and the proposals will be due back to the Municipal Services Department on September 19th. And that is my report.
Any questions from the board on the town manager's report?
Yeah, do we know, so it was 43 fledged chicks this year. Do we know what it was last year? Does anybody remember?
Oh, God.
That up, down,
I didn't bring it.
consistent?
I'd have to look it up. I'll let you know. I'll let you know next week.
Yeah, just curious.
Yep.
And do we have any DPW or water updates?
Hold on one sec. Compared to last year. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead with your question.
DPW, anything, any updates with the building? With the,
Yes. The idea is to go out to bid in mid-September.
Okay. And you'll let us know how the sand may or may not play into
I will.
that with the timeline? Because Fernando had suggested doing, what's the name of that
The
chart?
Gantt chart, yes.
Gantt
I have one for the sand,
Yep.
and they're doing one for the building so that I can see if they match up or not.
Yeah.
That would
So
be great.
Spoke with Rennie about that. and so-
Sorry, I did the sand for the seawall aspect. So, yeah, the Gantt chart for the seawall construction. Sorry, I'm confusing them. Seawall construction, Gantt chart, DPW Gantt chart, sand in the middle.
Yes.
That's what
Right.
you're going to see.
The sand could be used
Did I
for
say
the
that
other,
correctly?
yeah.
Yeah, we got there.
Okay,
Well done.
We're all there.
We're all there. Gantt charts to,
Galore.
Yep.
Yes.
okay. And then any water updates with,
On,
well,
PFAS.
yeah, PFAS.
I don't have any to date. No. That doesn't mean nothing's being done. I'll have to check with Mark and Sheila. They've been dealing with a lot of water main breaks
Yeah.
lately and repaving different portions. So I'll have something for you the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
How are the grant, have we heard back at all on the grant applications for the seawall?
Yeah, I email them weekly. The last time I talked to them was Thursday, and they still hadn't made a decision yet.
The state and also the two of them that she signed. I know the first one that went in was the dam and seawall grant.
That's the one I check up on regularly.
And the other one's a coastal resiliency
The
one.
CZM one, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything our board can do for those to help?
No, but the threat of having you available works to my advantage. Like when I needed the permit from, what was it, from Bertie, her name's Roberta, I just kind of hinted that the fact that my board's asking a lot of questions and they might need to contact their legislative delegation. Well, within 48 hours, I had an answer, so.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I mean, that's,
But that was for a permit, that's not for money, so I have to be a little bit more genteel when I'm asking for
yeah.
money.
I have to think we fit squarely within those.
Yeah, no, they know.
Guidelines for the
They know.
grants.
And they're typically very responsive, but they have a lot more people asking for that kind of money now. So,
We're ready to rock.
yep, and they know it.
Final, I think that's it. I will leave it at that. Any other questions?
no, it seems like we had a lot on our, I don't have our to-do list in front of me, and so I'm sure I'm blanking on a bunch, but
It's okay,
Yeah.
you will in the next one,
I
because
did-
there were 4 things that I had to knock off of there that I didn't have a chance to knock off
right,
there.
I was
and rotate
thinking
out.
this is a pretty light meeting. We're probably gearing up for a real big one.
Yeah,
Well,
no, because now we're kind of getting back into the weekly routine.
If there are items that you would like on future agendas, shoot me an email or a text, and I will
Or
relay
then I
that,
can-
and I will relay it to Rainey or CC Rainey or however
Yeah.
you'd like to do it. All right. One-day liquor license request. We have one from the Friends on the Council of Aging for a golf fundraiser on September 16th. And I don't have it in front of me.
I think it was Mr. Brogna.
Let's see
Yeah.
him here.
We have done this in the
Right here.
past.
Do you want to just?
Yeah, I got
The
it.
motion.
I got it. All right. May I have a motion?
Okay, I move that Mr. Paul Brogna, as a representative of the Friends of the Duxbury Council on Aging, is granted a one-day wine and malt license for their golf fundraiser on Monday, September 16th, 2024, at the Duxbury Senior Center, 10 Mayflower Street, from 5 o'clock p.m. until 8 o'clock p.m., subject to the condition of the license.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
Well, great program, good luck.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have a number of minutes to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I offered some edits to the staff regarding the April 1st minutes about our discussion on the easement litigation. Those have, I believe, been incorporated, but I haven't yet had an opportunity to look at the revised draft, so maybe we can put that aside until next week. So
Sure.
we can all have a look at the
That's
revised
fine.
minutes. Okay.
All right. Any on 226 or 624, 805?
Nothing for me on any of those.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Let's take some motions.
All right, so the first one, Mike, you'll abstain from this one. I move to approve the February 26, 2024 Select Board open session minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Great. This next one, we can all vote. I move to approve the August 5th, 2024 Select Board open session minutes as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, did someone second that?
August 5th, I wasn't here for that.
Which one did you do?
August 5th,
I believe August 5th, I was not here, so I will
so
abstain.
everybody can vote.
Yeah, it says I was, oh no, that's June 24th.
August 5th, you were absent.
I was,
So did you do both 624 and 805 or just?
Nope, I just did August 5th.
Okay. Can I get a second?
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 abstain.
All right, and finally, and Fernando can abstain from this one, I move to approve the June 24th, 2024 Select Board open session minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All right.
Great.
Great work, everyone. All right. Announcements.
We have 2 announcements. Number 1, elections, state primary, early voting hours. Early voting will take place at the Town Clerk's Office, Duxbury Town Hall, 878 Tremont Street, on the following dates and times. Saturday, August 24th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday, August 25th, no early voting. Monday, August 26th, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday, August 27th, through Thursday, August 29th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And finally, Friday, August 30th, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Number 2, the next scheduled Select Board meeting will be on Monday, August 26, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. in the Mural Room.
Thank you very much. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.